Come take the hand.
Hi, welcome to Future Doc, the TV show. I'm Dr. James Biddle. In this series, we're investigating medical topics from the perspective of integrative medicine, bringing the best of both conventional medicine and holistic medicine and bringing them together to look at health topics important to you and your health. Tonight, we're going to be looking at sustainable nutrition. Sustainable nutrition is not a dietary plan because dietary plans don't work. Diets start and diets stop. After you stop the diet, you go back to whatever habit you were doing before you started the diet, and that's the habit that got you into poor health in the first place. You don't want to go back to that habit. You want to stay with a new habit. So sustainable nutrition is about teaching people new habits of how to eat. After all, you are, in fact, what you eat. Now, you're also what you drink and breathe and think and feel and believe. Your chronic subconscious thought patterns have a lot to do with how your body ends up. And there's a PhD named Bruce Lipton who wrote a book called The Biology of Belief, and you can Google him and see his information. And he provided a unique insight into how our cells and our thoughts actually mold our body. And I'll give you the summary of it. Most people believe that the nucleus is actually the brain of the cell, that the nucleus tells the cell what to do. And it's not true. The nucleus is actually the gonads of the cell. The nucleus provides replacement parts. It's like the parts part department. If you run out of some molecule or protein in your cell, then the nucleus has the blueprint to go make more proteins to replace it. But you can take a nucleus out of a cell, and that cell will live very happily for months in culture without the nucleus. So what's the brain of the cell? The brain of the cell ends up being the cell membrane. The cell membrane receives signals from the environment, including the signals from our own chronic thoughts and feelings and belief systems, but also signals from what we eat and what we're experiencing in the world. And those signals then activate receptors on the cell membrane, and that sends signals into the nucleus to say what genes to turn on and what genes to turn off. Because the genes don't actually make the decision themselves. The genes are covered up with proteins called histones. And if you have the histone sitting on top of the gene's not encoded for, and you don't make the particular end result protein of that. If you take the histone off of that, which comes from the signal of the cell membrane, then that gene starts to get coded for, and you make that particular protein. So what we eat, for example, will determine whether we make enzymes to burn sugar for energy, or whether we make enzymes to burn fat for energy. And this will be very important later when we're talking about either storing fat or burning fat. So we are what we eat. What are most Americans eating? Well, most Americans are eating what we call the standard American diet, which is sad. The standard American diet is very sad because most Americans now eat 145 pounds of sugar per year. Just 100 years ago, that was 5 pounds of sugar per year per person, and now it's 150 pounds of sugar per year per person. Most Americans are eating 12 pounds of artificial sweeteners, like aspartame, and these are causing radical changes in their bodies. Most Americans are not getting enough fruits, vegetables, fiber, and nutrients, like vitamins and minerals. Most Americans who are eating the standard American diet are getting high-calorie malnutrition. It means they get lots of calories, they're certainly not starving, but they don't have the nutrients they need for proper health. They don't have the certain building blocks that they need. It would be like trying to run your car on just gasoline, but with no oil to lubricate the engine, for a very simple analogy. It's just not going to work very well. So that ends up causing our epidemic of obesity, of diabetes. Obesity and diabetes have basically tripled in the last 20 years or so. Vascular disease, heart disease, is still the #1 killer in the United States. And cancer, which of course in some parts of cancer have been rising, especially breast cancer and prostate cancer have been epidemics. And then most Americans are also eating too much trans fat, which I'll talk about a lot tonight. Trans fat's the hydrogenated fat that's really the worst thing of all in our diets. So these are the reasons people choose what to eat, is pleasure, convenience, emotional needs, religion, spiritual needs, environmental concerns, and then also the science of how you be healthy. Tonight we're going to talk more about the science of how to be healthy. So the science of what to eat sustainably is, one, adequate protein. And you want to have at least 15% of your calories in protein. And I'll talk much more about protein here coming up and other ideas about what is the right amount of protein. Next is healthy fats. You can get away with eating a lot of fat, and I'll help you understand why, but you have to pick the right kind of fat. And the type of fat you pick is one of the most important things about long-term health, because fat goes into your body and pretty much stays what it is. When you eat protein, you'll break it down, and you'll eat muscle protein, and you'll change it into hair. Or you'll eat nuts in protein, and you'll change it into muscle. But fat pretty much stays what it is. The type of fat you eat is the type of fat that your body is made out of, because you're not going to change the fat around all that much. And we need to eat no trans fats, and we need to eat no hydrogenated fats, which is the same thing. And we need to eat more monounsaturated fats and more polyunsaturated fats, and more omega-3s, which are essential fatty acids, which I'll teach you about. And of course, we need to eat more fiber, and we get this from eating more of a plant-based diet. Now, even though I'm not a vegetarian, I'm not, frankly, a big fan of vegetarianism, because I treat a lot of recovering vegetarians, and I'll explain why. But eating more vegetables and plant foods is a good idea. That should really be the base of our food pyramid, are all these vegetables, fruits, nuts, seeds, beans, and truly whole grains. Not the refined stuff like bread and pancakes, but the truly whole grains, like maybe a bowl of oatmeal with some ground flax seeds in it. And then lower glycemic index, meaning less sugar and less starchy stuff like bread, pasta, potatoes, so that you're not getting these sugar surges, which we'll talk more about. Also in sustainable nutrition, today we're going to talk about macronutrients. This is your balance of proteins, carbs, and fats. But we can also spend a long time talking about micronutrients. And micronutrients are your minerals like calcium, magnesium, zinc, iodine, lithium, chromium, vanadium, a lot of the periodic table of elements. They're your vitamins, which is basically the whole alphabet. Vitamin A, vitamin B, there's a whole bunch of vitamin Bs, especially B12, vitamin C, vitamin D, vitamin E, vitamin K. And then other special nutrients like CoQ10, lipoic acid, glucosamine, MSM are very good for your joints, probiotics, which are the good bacteria that grow in your gut, enzymes, and even hydrochloric acid to help you digest your food. These are all special nutrients. You need amino acids in your protein. And this is why being a vegetarian is somewhat challenging, because a lot of plants don't have complete proteins. They're missing some of the essential amino acids, such as tryptophan, lysine, arginine, and phenylalanine, and also some conditionally essential amino acids, such as tyrosine, which means you can make a little bit of it, but really your body needs more of it than you can make, and you got to eat it in your diet. And when you're under certain conditions, then it becomes more essential. Then we also have essential fatty acids. So there's certain fats that we have to eat. We can't just make them out of other fats. And these include the omega-3s. Now, right now in our society, we get too much of most omega-6s and not enough omega-3s. So we have an imbalance. So there's some that are much less essential for us now, and some that are even more essential, which I'll go into. So far, there's no known truly essential sugar, but there are some that help communicate. And there's a whole field called glyconutrients that come from aloe commercially, and those help your body communicate from one part of the body to another, and those are perhaps essential. And then, of course, vitamin L, or love. We all need a little bit of love, or vitamin L, or missing that, you need a little bit of chocolate. So, other parts of sustainable nutrition, and in our practice of medicine, we use herbs, we use spices, we use foods. All of these can be medicine.